Comic collector or comic investor? In this video, I'm going to talk about what I think I am. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle. And I want to do a segment that I'm going to call My 12 Cents. Now, last week I did a video on Friday called My 12 Cents, what I think is going on with the 90s comic book boom. And today I want to continue sort of that series of videos for this channel where I sort of do a 12-cent opinion piece on some kind of news that's going on in the industry, or an article maybe that I see, or something that's trending overall. And I just kind of riff off of what I think about it and kind of give you, well, my 12 cents. So in this video, I want to talk about an article that came out on GOCOLLECT that was called Collector or Investor. And I enjoyed the read. It was a good read. I recommend you guys go check it out. We'll take a look at the article together here and kind of pick out some of the talking points. But I kind of wanted to weigh in on the question because the article seemed to put it that, you know, we might all be a little bit of both or one or the other, but you know, it was sort of asking, the call to action was to sort of define yourself. Are you a collector or an investor? And in short, I think that I'm actually both, and I don't actually think that you can really be one or the either. I think that there's always going to be a little part of the other side that's going to subconsciously weigh in on your habits and decisions within the hobby. But before I kind of get into that, if you guys could drop me a like or a comment or hit that sub button if you're enjoying my content, really helps with the algorithm, helps promote the channel, and helps me stay motivated to keep making videos because I'm really enjoying it. So with that being said, let us get into this article. So here is the article on GOCOLLECT. It is called A Collector's Journey, Collector or Investor, and it is by Dan Gagnon. Hopefully I pronounced that right. And so he kind of goes in to sort of defining the differences between the two, which is a collector, he says, is a person who collects things for a specified type, professionally or as a hobby. And an investor is a person or organization that puts money into financial plans, property, etc., with the expectation of achieving profit. So with comic books, I think that it's totally fair to say that both of those two terms apply. I mean, we are, you know, collectors by nature, by the medium. We have to store lots of books, you know, and with that being said, you sort of have to be a collector. Investor might be one that, whether it's conscious or not, I'm of the opinion that we are all investors with the purchases that we make. I mean, maybe you're not. Maybe you're the type of person who buys a comic book and immediately throws it away, right? Or you've never bought a bag and board in your life, and you've never ever put that bag and board in a box, so to speak. And if you're that person, hey, more power to you. That's not how I roll with the hobby, but hey, I'm not going to tell you what to do. But for what I presume would be the majority of people, I would think that the majority of people are taking the comics that they purchase and putting them in bags and boards. Or at the very least, if they are graphic novel readers, they are taking those graphic novels and they are storing them neatly on a shelf, or they're hoping that, you know, that there's not too much wear or tear on them, because with that mindset of being an investor, I mean, they're putting money into something that they're hoping later on will have a profit of value. Now, it's not defined what that profit will be, but it could be, I think, fairly presumed that profit might be something that is just keeping the condition of an item that you purchase in a good state, you know, which is hoping that it's going to continue to provide you value in its good, healthy state for years to come. Now, that might be a weird way or kind of a cheap way for me to frame what I view investing as, but I do think that with our purchases that we make in our lives, whether it's our houses or our cars or our stocks or our clothing or whatever, we're always hoping to make purchases and keep them in good conditions that are going to serve us not only at the time, but in the future years down the road. And if that's not sort of an investment into your own items or your own materials or things that you have, then I don't really know. I don't really know what is. But let's go on here. So collecting, he goes on to say things that he's collected. And talks about how he threw out a Hulk 181 in the garbage, and that's really a sad story. And he also had a giant size X-Men that he gave to his friend, and classic issue disappeared. So I feel bad for you, Dan. I hope one day you reclaim those prized possessions. And then as he gets to here, he talks about investing and how he enjoys collecting, but investing is a little bit scary to him because you don't want to spend too much money on a book that goes nowhere. And I totally understand that idea. But this is I think the where I might differ a lot from how Dan frames his article is when he's talking about investing, he's talking about purely the purpose of flipping a book versus where you could view investing as just wanting to sort of preserve or keep something for a long time that holds, not only a financial value later on, but, an emotional value that you're putting into an item. And then at the bottom here, he's asking you to define yourself. Luckily for me, my retirement plans won't depend upon the comic book market or my limited speculation. However, it is sure fun to watch my comic books jump in value in the MCU and trends. And this is really what I wanted to talk about as far as investment is concerned versus collecting, because this is where I feel the rubber hits the road with the hobby and just the world that we live in now because of the MCU movies, because of the speculation, because of where the entertainment spirit is going. If you are a comic book reader or a collector that wants to have things that runs filled, or you want to have certain books because you want to collect them, you can't not be an investor at this point, because the market is being driven by speculation and by entertainment properties like the MCU, like the Warner Brothers DC universe, like the Spider-Verse, like video games, like other sort of pop culture things. The market is being driven by speculation. So if you're someone that ever wants to collect a certain book, unless you have infinite resources and infinite money to buy that book whenever you want, you have to prioritize certain items that you want to collect based on speculation and based on investment trends. So I want to kind of point to some stuff behind my head. I got this, Silver Surfer 3 and 4 here. And these are books that I bought, some months back. But they were on my target list. And if you guys hadn't seen my Grail video, they were a couple of the books that I put on my S tier target list that I always wanted to collect. And then recently, in that same Grail video, I got this Iron Man 1 up there that I purchased, right? And where I'm going with this is I wanted to point out that I specifically targeted the Silver Surfer 3 and 4 first as a collector. These books are not books that I'm buying for investment. These are books that I wanted to have, that I wanted to collect. I've always been after them. But the reason I purchased my Silver Surfer 3 and 4 before I got my Iron Man was because I had to use my investment brain to feed my collector soul, which is to say, I know that Silver Surfer is coming into the MCU, and I know that, well, I don't know, but I could use my best guesses. And I'm pretty sure that Mephisto is also going to come into the MCU soon. Now, Iron Man is already in the MCU. So it's my opinion that his book's value is only going to go up by a small amount from here on out, because now that he's in the MCU, his cultural significance is where it is, and it's going to stay there. Versus the Silver Surfer ones, as soon as Silver Surfer comes into the MCU, those books are going to skyrocket. And so as a collector, I had to think about this in terms of investment, and I had to make sure that I pursued those books first because I wanted to collect them, because I knew that if I got the Iron Man book first and I waited too long on the Silver Surfer stuff, if in fact it was announced that they're going to be in the MCU, then those books might have been priced out of my budget and I would have maybe never been able to collect them. So I think that, if you're in this hobby, you have to be a collector and an investor at the same time. Similarly, even maybe you don't read Silver Age books or you don't collect that stuff. You want to just read new ones. I mean, look at some of the stuff that's coming out with Kane Black or Thor or Donny Cates and books like that. Let's just say you want to collect new stuff. I mean, you still have to sort of use an investment speculative mindset in thinking about how you want to get your hands on those sort of hot books that come out. Because if you know that Donny Cates is a hot writer and you know that Kane Black or Null has been a super hot villain recently, you have to think about, okay, well, if I want to collect those, how am I going to ensure that I get my hands on that book? You have to be ahead of the market. You have to be ahead of the trends. So I don't think you can be one or the other in this hobby. I think no matter what, the hobby is going to force you to be both a collector and an investor. And similarly, if you're only in it to flip books and speculate and you're purely an investor, well, the reality is you're going to have to be a collector because you're going to have to store all those books somewhere that you're going to sit on for years to come. If you got 100 copies of Oblivion Song 1 because you're waiting for it to be the next Walking Dead, you're going to have to park that box of books in your garage and sit on it. So you're going to have to be a collector. So anyways, that's my 12 cents on this topic. Let me know what you guys think. What are you guys out there? Are you guys speculators or collectors or investors, or maybe you're a little bit of both? Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.